Didcot, Oxfordshire, in the heart of England's countryside with its landmark cooling towers, home to Williams Grand Prix engineering, winners of 4 Formula One World Constructors' Championships and 3 Drivers' Championships, and current outright leaders in this year's contest. From this base, boss Frank Williams and his eager team have sent out the cars this year which have carried Nigel Mansell and Riccardo Patrese to the forefront of the challenge for the World Drivers' Crown. Here are the current positions after the first 7 races of the season. Work begins here at sunup in race week with some of the unsung heroes in this story of success, the truckies. The peace and serenity of this French sunflower field is to be broken this weekend by the sound of speeding trucks. They're all off to Nevers, capital of the former Duchy of Nivernais, 90 miles southeast of Orléans on the banks of the River Loire. Its bridge links Paris from the north with Magny-Cours, venue for round 8 of the Formula One Championship, and in a display of unparalleled arrogance, French truck drivers have chosen this week to stage a protest about new motoring laws. This blockade, designed to cause maximum inconvenience in Grand Prix week and severe embarrassment to the French government, is one of 100 such demonstrations up and down the country. Thankfully, the Formula One drivers have made it through the blockades to the unpretentious Hôtel du Circuit at Magny-Cours.
So here we are after about 3 weeks from the Montreal Grand Prix. We've been on holiday down to Wales for 2 or 3 days. When I say holiday, 2 or 3 days is a holiday. We then went to my golf and country club where I'm president in Dartmouth in Devon. We opened the golf course down there. Since doing that, we've opened Harrods summer sale, which was in London a few days ago. We were testing extensively at Silverstone and was very, very quick there because obviously straight after this race we go straight into the British race at Silverstone. And of course here we are again this week, and in the midst of, no doubt you've seen all the problems and trouble and strife of the French truck drivers. Well, we've got a glorious morning. The forecast for tomorrow is rain. It's raining currently in a lot of parts of Europe now, and especially in England. So I think it's very, very important qualifying today. I think the qualifying times will probably stand today, so we've got to get our act together, and hopefully we'll be back on the front row where I think we deserve to be.
The 4.271 kilometre circuit of Magny-Cours was purpose-built in the homeland of the French President Francois Mitterrand and hosted its first Grand Prix last year. Nigel won here then, and he dominated today's first qualifying session in fighting fashion, lapping in 1:15.047 ahead of his teammate Riccardo Patrese and the McLarens of Senna and Berger, with Schumacher and Eric Comas next. And to complete the perfect day, a game of golf.
As you can hear in the background here, this racetrack is one of the best, purely and simply, to have a golf course right on the edge of the circuit. Here we are playing golf. It's rather infuriating, the noise, but at least we're out on the golf course enjoying ourselves.
Back to the hotel now to catch up with today's news.
Williams back to their old ways today, 1 and 2 on the grid, provisional.
Yeah, fantastic day today because we had our problems. I lost my race car in the morning in the last 40 minutes and I had to run back to the pits and use the T car. And to go the quickest in the T car this morning and then virtually be quickest in the T car this afternoon, or did the same time as my race car, was very, very pleasing.
Which engine are you running?
Well, we're running the RS3 and the RS4 and we're doing more or less the same times at the moment. But we've made modifications to the car and although the weather forecast is not very good, we hope to improve tomorrow.
And you were half a second quicker than Riccardo?
Yeah, just half a second quicker than Riccardo, which is a lot here. I mean, I'm very pleased to be half a second a bit quicker. But it's the gap then to the McLaren which is astonishing. It's about 1.5 seconds then to the next McLaren, and that's very good.
The perennial question, who will drive for whom next season, seems to reach a climax usually with Silverstone, which comes up next week. Any inside info on what's happening at Team Williams yet?
No, only the fact that they're talking of the possibility of Prost coming, although that's being denied. I can stay and be there if I wish to, or I can go to Ferrari if I wish to. I'd never go to McLaren, that's for sure. What's happening at McLaren? I think you'll probably still find Senna and Berger there. Ferrari, definitely John and Lacey staying there, maybe Capelli, maybe someone else. It's still very much in the air at the moment.
And I mean, if Prost were to come to Williams, how would you sit with that?
No, we'll just have to wait and see what does happen.
Okay, just one final thing, on a lighter note. In the English press this week, I don't know if you noticed it, Ayrton Senna, your old mate, was stopped for speeding on the M25, 121 miles an hour in his Porsche, and the policeman didn't recognise him and he said, "Oi, who do you think you are, Nigel Mansell?"
Well, I mean, really, you should have locked him up. Any Brazilian going more than 100 miles an hour in the English roads should be deemed as very dangerous, should be locked up and the key should be thrown away. And of course I say that with a smile.
Nigel went on to continue contractual discussions that evening with the Williams commercial director Sheridan Thinn. Saturday morning, and the road from Nevers is almost impassable. The roadblock being mounted even under the nose of the local gendarmerie.
Well, good morning everybody. Today, I think McLaren have got to sort themselves out. They found themselves a long way behind us yesterday, and I think they had problems for sure. The Benetton team, I think they must have had a few problems too. So it's going to be a tricky one. Again, patience will prevail. No doubt you must have demonstrated some patience coming here this morning. You'll see quite a lot of the truck strike, I should imagine, on this particular episode of the French Grand Prix. That's it really, other than the fact that because it's like it is this morning, I've had to get up earlier and go to work a little bit earlier. I was hoping that it was pouring with rain this morning, and if I'd have looked out the window and it was raining, I could have spent another 30 minutes in bed. However, we can't, and we're off to work, so see you later.
While Nigel went to the circuit, we dodged the lorries for some rather more attractive French delights, the vineyards. The great chateaux of the region own acres of vines, regimented and manicured to perfection, and it's here in Prix that Sauvignon Blanc grape is grown, ideal for summer drinking. Many houses here are connected with wine production, like this local worker of 27 acres of Sauvignon, producing bottles of Puy-Fumé and Sancerre with great skill. And of course, the proof of the pudding is in the tasting. Cheers. There were no obstructions for Nigel back at Magny-Cours with a record-breaking lap.
We've had a very indifferent day where it's been dry, it's been wet. We've had that in one session, so we've actually practiced in the wet conditions anyway, which is quite good because now if the race is wet tomorrow, we won't have to have extra practice. The track conditions and the temperature being cooler today obviously made it a lot faster. We've actually smashed the track record. We've now got down into the 1 minute 13.8 second bracket, and my teammate's next with 1:14.3. And then you have the McLarens of Ayrton Senna and Gerhard Berger coming up next at 1:15.1 and 1:15.3 respectively. So we've had to go a lot quicker this afternoon to protect the front row. Okay, on a very quick lap of the circuit here, Magny-Cours, you come out of the fast chicane here in second gear, accelerating to third, to fourth, to fifth. I'm just going to pause there and let you know that this part of the track here is where the pits are. This is all the pit area here. So that's the exit to the circuit here, and you come around here into the pits. This is the actual racing circuit, so you change in second, third, fourth, fifth, under the bridge, and when you go under the bridge here, you're doing about 143 kilometers an hour. Accelerating down here, getting into sixth gear about here, and at this point you're doing 270 kilometers an hour. And you can see it's a very short straight, and yet you've accelerated from basically about 60 kilometers an hour up to 270 kilometers an hour in a very short distance. Very, very fast slingshot here towards the chateau, and then from fourth to third, round here in third gear. Probably the speed at this point here entering the corner is 270 kilometers an hour again, and then going through here at probably about 140 kilometers an hour. From third to fourth to fifth gear. That's the most fantastic thing about a Formula One car. You see how short this straight is, and you're accelerating from third to fourth to fifth, and probably doing about 220 kilometers to 240 kilometers an hour at this point here. So the most important thing for tomorrow, because the start and finish is here, or the starting line for the race, is to get a great start and get into this corner of complexes the first if you can. And then through here, very important that your car is very quick onto the main straight, because this is your main straight. This is the only real opportunity for overtaking down here coming into the hairpin. And hopefully we'll get a good start, we'll have reliability, and you never know, we might have another great result tomorrow. Thank you.
Sunday dawns with some unpromising weather.
The biggest thing is the wing setting for the car. It's when the conditions are like this, how much wing to run. Why I say that? Because if it does rain and you're running too little wing, you're going to be slow. If you run a lot of wing and it rains all the time, you're going to be quick. But then if it dries out, you're going to be slow. It's what we call the chicken and egg situation. If you could really know exactly what the conditions are going to be for the race, we can put the best wing setting on for the car, and then for sure we'll be competitive in all types of condition.
Well, this is the right place to be, isn't it, this morning?
Yeah, I mean, on a day like today, there's only one place to be, and that's out in front. And at least we've got the pole position to start with. We just need a great start now and try and maintain that position. And if we can, then I think the advantage is ours. All right, we'll see you later on.
Nigel sets off one last time to the circuit with his wife Roseanne. Will he attain his 6th win of the season by being first to the checkered flag? Or will his teammate Riccardo Prix, resplendent in his racing helmet for the short trip to the circuit on his moped, apply the pressure for his first success of the season? The contraflows are still operating, slowing down the circuit-bound traffic. But somehow the big coaches get through to Magny-Cours with a little help from the local gendarme. The police have devised alternative routes to keep the tide of traffic moving. But even they need to resort to the map to find out just where they're going. Mid-morning now, and the queues are at their worst. This is just one of 6 entrances to the circuit. Nigel doesn't get the start he prayed for, and Patrese is first into the corner. A dogfight follows between the teammates. Rain brings out the red flag to halt the action. After the restart, rain again, and in comes Nigel for a tyre change to wets, and it's fantastically quick, just over 5 seconds. He slithers back onto the track and drives superbly to win his 27th career Grand Prix. Patrese comes home second, and Martin Brundle finishes third and shares his first podium celebration with the Williams drivers. Nigel now has 66 points in the Drivers' Championship, ahead of Ricciardo on 34, Schumacher 26 and Senna with only 18, not finishing in the last 2 races. It's a century up for Williams in the constructors' table, and nobody really looks capable of stopping them charged to the title. Nigel arrives exhausted at the busy heliport outside Magny-Cours circuit. He's now equalled Jackie Stewart's 27-win record. Another trophy to add to the collection.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I mean, you saw it was a very hard race. It was a long one. Stop, go, and I mean, just marvellous victory. Very, very good.
It was an eventful race. Tell us about the original start.
Well, Ricciardo drove fantastic today, and we're having a big fight. And you know, Ricciardo's a great driver, and then at the second restart, at both starts, I was pushing him very hard, and we were having a big fight. And he decided that the pressure on him I was pushing was maybe too much, because he started maybe to make a mistake. So he decided to let me go, and I thank him very much for that. We're back online, and we got another 10 points, and I'm so happy for this.
And a great preparation for Silverstone next week.
Yeah, Silverstone's next week. It's only 4 days away.
Well, very well done again. Many congratulations.
Good to see you all. Welcome you at Silverstone. I'll invite you into my personal compound within the circuit, and we can have a chat one evening and even a barbecue. Bye-bye.
Well done. Fabulous. Bye, Roseanne.
Bye, see you Silverstone.
2 days later, motor racing personalities attend an award dinner in London. A chance now to ask Jackie Stewart about Nigel Mansell equalling his record.
Well, I sent Nigel a telegram, or a fax actually, saying welcome very temporarily to the 27 Club, because I'm sure he's going to be a very short time member. But of course I'm very pleased for him. It's very nice that this amount of success has come in the manner that it has, and of course he's a worthy person to have knocked up 27 victories. I can't complain. I'm very pleased for him because I've held this record now for 19 years. So I'm just pleased that there's another British driver up there winning as often as Nigel is. And we can only hope, I'm sure he shares my opinion, that we can develop more young British racing drivers who will be able to continue to get the kind of success that hopefully both Nigel and I will be overshadowed by with young British drivers. And at the moment that's not really happening as well as it should.
And Ayrton Senna, what are his chances?
To be realistic about it, I think we have very little chances in this year championship. Of course, as long as mathematically it's not over, you have just to keep on trying. But definitely the Williams-Renault combination is the favorite one, the dominant one. And I think we will unfortunately continue that way until the end of the year at least. So we'll keep on trying. Even with that situation, we managed to win 2 races with the McLaren. And who knows? It's always unpredictable racing result until you get the checker flag. So you have to make sure you be there at the right time, at the right moment, for any opportunity that can come, so you can collect it.
The rolling countryside around Silverstone in the county of Northamptonshire braces itself for its busiest weekend of the year. And everywhere, even the fields are rented out for Labatt to reinforce its message. And there's no doubting the focus of attention for the next few days.
Well, welcome here to my home Grand Prix, the Silverstone Grand Prix, and as you can see, the weather's been extremely kind. It's pouring with rain. But I've got a smile on my face because I'm going to be performing in my own country. There's no problems with language, there's no problems with accommodation or food. You're here in our tented village, and I'm going to ask you to join us for a great game of golf tomorrow, and I'll predict the weather tomorrow will be very good. How's that? I'm going out on a limb especially for you. So until tomorrow morning, I'll speak to you later.
On a greyer day than predicted, we head for the tranquility of the golf course, Nigel's preferred workplace when he's not in the cockpit of his Williams-Renault FW14B. This time it's Buckingham Golf Club, about 4 miles from Silverstone, and today finds Nigel in good humour.
Things are very, very good. I mean, what could be better, I mean, gentlemen? I mean, it really is tremendous, isn't it? Come on, come on. I'll try to get you in the water. He's done this job before. Now that would have been really good if you'd have done that.
I've come across pranksters before.
Well, here we are, we're in the Renault Espace going back to Silverstone now, back from Buckingham Golf Club. It was quite a fun game this morning. As you saw, there was quite a few people following us around, and albeit from making a bogey on the last hole, I would have shot level par, so I actually finished with a gross 71, which and that's a net 64 or 65, so I'm really happy with that. We'll be going back there, in fact, later this evening, which I'll invite you to join us to see how we've actually done in the prize giving. Now we're obviously only about 4 miles from Silverstone. Now the intensity of the weekend will begin. We'll go back. I shall have a nice shower and change, and then I've got to go down to the pits and speak to my engineer and start setting the car up. Feel comfortable that everything is as it should be, because although you speak from day to day on the telephone, when you get to the races there can be a lot of changes on engines or even chassis, and my race car this weekend is a different chassis. I have a new chassis which hasn't actually raced before, and I'm happy about that because the old car has done a lot of miles now. It's done 7 races and it's won 6 of them. Our format then will be, I have a press conference which is very important at 4 o'clock this afternoon. This is for all the press worldwide if they wish to come. And then at 5 o'clock, between 4 and 5, you have a weigh-in as well. And then at 5 o'clock we are actually having a drivers' meeting, an official drivers' meeting, because we have some new regulations for next year that they're actually going to speak to the drivers about. So an awful lot of things are going to be happening. And then of course this evening, straight after the drivers' meeting, we'll come back to the golf club here. Then this evening I would suggest probably as early to bed as possible, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock if not, but then 10 o'clock is definitely the latest time. And then up first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock, breakfast, and straight into it. And I'll be joining you for breakfast tomorrow morning anyway, in a special studio that we have, and we'll talk a little bit further then about tomorrow. Hello. Hi. Once we start though, we're in trouble, aren't we?
Back at the circuit, opportunity knocks for one fan in particular. She clearly can't believe her luck.
There you go.
Well done. Love to see you. I've been
you.
dying for this for ages. I was just going back for a rest.
Yeah, how are you? All right.
Oh, I'm fine now. Oh, it's grand.
There you go.
Oh, thank you ever so much. Best of luck for Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
And then it's straight to work, facing the world's media.
What's the situation with the contract with Williams? Are you going to re-sign?
Well, I mean, that's a heck of a question, and thank you very much.
Someone was going to ask it.
Well, it's caught me off there a little bit. It's as simple as this, that at the moment, I don't know anything. Frank and I have negotiated, we've more or less come to a agreement on everything other than one thing, and that is who will be in the other car. And this hasn't been clarified to me yet. There's obviously been a lot of speculation, none of which I can verify, and therefore telling me he can have the drive as long as it's Ricardo Patrese, right?
Nice one, Nigel.
It's very difficult. I'll be open with you, and I trust that you reciprocate with me. Ricardo Patrese and I have worked collectively with Renault, with Elf and the Williams team. No other driver, right? Ricardo, myself and Damon Hill. And that's it, basically. Maybe Martin Blundell before McLaren took him away. But between Ricardo and I, as the main drivers of the team and racers of the team, have worked with Renault, I repeat myself, with Elf and with the Williams team to get it where it is today. I feel very reticent as to why it has to be changed, if it's got to be changed. I wish I could say what is happening, because I know how I feel at this moment in time, and it's difficult for Ricardo even more than me. But I mean, that's it. I can tell you who's not coming to the team, but I can't tell you who might possibly be coming to the team. And to be fair, I've got to be open with all of you and say, all of you, please, and this is tongue in cheek, so don't take it totally seriously, all queue up at the Williams motorhome and speak to Frank about it, because one of you might be told something that we can actually go with.
This beautiful surprise floral tribute is from Interflora, made from over 3,000 individual flowers. And then it's back to Buckingham Golf Club for today's prize-giving ceremony.
0 to 15, the winner is Nigel Mansell, 71.
Well done, Nigel. Well done, Nigel.
I think it's the first time I've given you a tap. Well done.
Well done.
No, John. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
This is home for the weekend for Nigel, his family, relatives and friends, camping out like thousands of supporters will be doing in a compound within the Silverstone circuit.
Good morning everybody. Well, here we are at Silverstone, lovely Friday morning. You can see if you pan round that it's rained very, very heavily in the night. It's just going 9 o'clock and in about 10 minutes time I'll be going down to the pits. A quick brief with the engineer and then basically probably about 20 to 10 I'll be sitting in the car at the end of the pit lane. Why 20 minutes before the practice starts? Basically because it's my home Grand Prix and I'd like to be first out on the track, because ticket sales are already 40% sold up over and above last year, and I reckon the crowd here even today will be something like 40 or 50,000 people. I think today with the weather forecasts are going to be very, very important, because all the times I feel will be set today in qualifying, because I feel for tomorrow it's going to be raining. In a few minutes time I'll be going down to the pits obviously to get back in the car and get out on the track very, very first. The other thing that's quite phenomenal at this race, which will allow you in on, is our little tented village here. We say tented, but it's more caravans and motorhomes. My sister's here and various friends, long-standing friends of sort of 20 years ago, and of course my family. And we have a little creche here as well. We have something like about 7 or 8 children, and everybody gets on real well. The only problem we have got is that to the side of the soccer pitch is a little bit muddy. But this evening I'll ask you to join us, and perhaps you can actually be referee, because if it stays dry, and it does dry up a little bit, you'll see quite a phenomenal soccer game tonight, which will be very, very interesting. And perhaps even some of the people here can start playing too. Alright, I've got to go, got to dash. As ever, we're against the clock. You think we just play against the clock on the circuit, but off the circuit it's almost a race against time, just as intently as it is on the circuit. So literally, we will catch up with you later. Thank you very much.
Silverstone's marvellous 5.225 kilometre track is one of Nigel's favourites, and in first qualifying he smashed his own lap record in an astounding 1:18.965. The provisional grid lines up like this: Mansell and Prix in familiar places, Senna and the others in their wake. Back to the camp, taking care of a little bit of business with his financial advisor John Rotherow in yellow. And greetings for Alex Plusko, his Florida architect and wife Barbara, and Nigel's loyal assistant Donald.
Oh, did we? Well done, Nigel.
Congratulations, Nigel. You certainly gave them something to shout about today.
That was a very, very special 1 hour qualifying session, and I think not for a few years here at Silverstone you'll see a car go that quick ever again, I think.
You told the press conference yesterday that you didn't think it would be possible to do a lap much quicker than 1:19.9, and here we are today. You've knocked a full second off that.
I'm motivated.
And it's 2 seconds quicker than your qualifying time this time last year. Which engine were you using today?
We're using the RS4, and the car and the engine work perfectly. We've had a few little problems, but you know, I've got to say that I'm immensely happy, and I don't think I can go quicker than that. I mean, that was a sensational lap, and that's it.
How had you got the car set up for today?
Well, I mean, we've done a lot of homework here, a lot of testing, so we're very fortunate that this is a track very close to our factory, that we know the circuit very well. I call this circuit a bit of a specialist circuit. I know this circuit inside out, and we're able to set the car up very well for here. And I foresee that on full tanks we should be equally competitive.
I noticed when you came back there you've got a slight limp. Nothing serious there, was it?
That's because I almost fell off the bike and I dead-legged my leg getting on it. The crowds here are just incredible, and you know, they don't leave you alone too much, so it's a bit of a problem.
Now we all know that you've got a love affair with this circuit and you've won a few races here, but can you put exactly into words what it is about Silverstone that's so special?
Yeah, it's in England. It's as simple as that. It's in Great Britain. We were born here, round here, and you know, it's our home Grand Prix. We only have one a year, and that's basically what's so special about it. I have a great affection for the crowd, and they reciprocate, and you know, it's just tremendous to operate in this environment, and then to live in this tented village is fantastic.
A bit of fun next as Nigel gets hold of his eldest son Leo's water pistol. His youngest son Greg joins in the fun, squirting his father. And daughter Chloe completes the trio. Even Williams commercial director Sheridan Thinn gets caught up in the battle, ambushed by Leo. But play is soon over for Nigel. Here comes the BBC television crew for an in-depth, exclusive interview. When the sun goes down, the soccer starts. Early next day, all is quiet in the Mansell camp. Peepo! In a field near the Silverstone main entrance, the day begins as well for thousands upon thousands of happy campers. When practice starts at 10 o'clock, the peace of Silverstone village is shattered. Can you believe someone actually got married amid the wail of Formula One cars? Even the village hall does its bit to publicise the year's biggest event here. Rain. Good to maintain the beauty of these English country gardens. Bad news for others, but good for Nigel back at the circuit, as no one can get near yesterday's time.
We're very pleased because you've seen the day's conditions today. I mean, they are very, very bad, just as they were on Wednesday, and I'm afraid that's the English weather, but we're very, very quick this morning, and this afternoon in the wet conditions we posted a quick time again. And so we've got set up for dry, all wet conditions. The problem we have got is with the new regulations, because if we start the race with dry tyres and then it starts to rain, they won't red flag the race anymore, they won't stop the race. And it's up to the driver then to go into the pits and actually get the wet tyres when he thinks best. For me, that's a little bit of a lottery, because if there's an accident or something and then they do red flag the race, you are then in the pits while everyone else is going round and you can be last on the grid. I have grave reservations about the new regulations, and I suppose we're just going to have to wait and see what happens, but ideally I'd really like it to either be completely wet tomorrow or completely dry, but this in-between situation that we've had the last few races with the new regulations is not desirable.
Ricciardo got into a bit of a tangle there this morning, was that?
Well, it wasn't a
serious?
tangle. I mean, we lost one car was completely written off because Comas decided to come and T-bone him at 200 miles an hour. Comas didn't see the yellow flags. Ricciardo started to slow down for an accident at the end of Hanger Straight, which is the fastest straight on the circuit here. And of course Comas just came and T-boned him, took a couple of the wheels off and then threw him into the concrete wall. And we've lost the car, and in him losing his race car, I lost my T-car. And therefore, you know, the team are having to work real hard tonight because they've actually got to build another new car up tonight for the race tomorrow.
So apart from the weather, where do you see your biggest threat tomorrow? Ricciardo?
No, the biggest threat is reliability, finishing the race, not making any mistakes, overtaking back markers, and of course my teammate Ricciardo and the McLaren team and Benetton team.
And will there be any team orders?
No team orders tomorrow.
It's not exactly a red carpet Donald's putting out for some rather special visitors to the compound, but everyone's eager to see them. It's Prince William, heir to the throne, wearing Nigel's cap. How fitting that the future King of England should visit someone else about to inherit a crown, the World Drivers' Championship.
Well, the last thing we're going to do for you this evening is take you around quite a quick lap of Silverstone. Obviously, starting the quick lap, you come out of Woodcut Corner in third gear, accelerating up into fourth, fifth and sixth gear, and past the start and finish line, you're actually doing 270 kilometers an hour. And then here, you're approaching 290 kilometers an hour. Changing down to fifth, accelerating through here, probably still doing about 240 to 250. And then coming down here from fifth up to sixth, very quickly through Maggots in sixth gear. This is where you're pulling 5G lateral. That's 5G force this way, and then that way you're pulling 5G in less than 1 second. So you're pulling 10G in less than 1 second. Then you're in fifth, then you're in fourth, and you're pulling an average of 4.5 G through this corner. Incredible. Coming out onto Chapel, fourth gear, up to fifth, sixth, down Hanger Straight, actually reaching over 300 kilometers an hour at this point. Braking very hard for Stowe, down to fourth, round Stowe, into fifth, down Vale, and braking hard here. You go from fifth to fourth to third to second in probably less than 1.5 seconds. Accelerating through here, pulling a lot of G through here, and actually the most impressive thing is how a race car, certainly a Formula 1 car, accelerates from this point to this point. You've accelerated from second, third, fourth and fifth gear, so you're actually pulling 240 kilometers at this point. Fifth gear into sixth gear and you're already 270 to 280 kilometers an hour at this point here, and then up through bridge again doing 300 kilometers an hour, and this on qualifying is incredible. You take this corner in sixth gear flat out, and I tell you got to hang on, braking very hard, sixth to fifth to fourth to third, taking all these corners now in third gear as quick as you possibly can. Brooklands, Luffield, and accelerating down here again towards the start and finish line. Third, fourth, fifth and sixth again. Absolutely incredible. And if you can do that, ladies and gentlemen, you actually get round in 1:18.98, which just happens to be the pole position, and virtually a clear 2 seconds clear the field. That is a quick lap, and I wouldn't like to do another one like it. And I don't think, with the new regulations, I certainly won't do another one in my lifetime. Thank you.
The helicopter bombardment over Silverstone begins early on race day, ferrying VIP passengers to the circuit to beat the traffic.
Good morning, everybody. Well, here we are, nice sunny start to the day anyway. It's Sunday, obviously, at 20 to 8 in the morning. Warm-ups literally just over an hour's time. We've got to get cracking and get into it. A lot of pressure on me today, but we'll see if we can come through. We've come through before, so I think you'll find it a very interesting day, and I'll speak to you after warm-up, see how things go. Catch up with you later.
Helicopter movements intensify by the minute, looking almost like scenes from the film Apocalypse Now.
We had a great warm-up, both cars working very well, and if I have to take the T car, which I hope I don't, then it'll be reasonably quick. We're quickest again, which is nice, and the only thing that's against us now is the weather. As we're talking now, it's starting to spit with rain, and anything could happen, so we just got to be a bit patient and just see what happens later on.
You've got your T-car back, so they managed to put Ricardo's back together all right, haven't they?
Yeah, Ricardo now has actually got my race-winning car of 5-6 races, because that was retired and now that's the only car that's available, so he's got a good car.
And what was the atmosphere like out there this morning?
Atmosphere is incredible, the crowd is just sensational, and oh, it's marvellous, absolutely marvellous.
They're still queuing up to get in?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Last night we saw some people that had been there since they started queuing at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon to be first in at 5 o'clock this morning when the doors opened.
Yeah, tremendous, isn't it?
Traffic queues all the way back to the M40 even by about 8 o'clock. So.
Very, very impressive. I'm glad I'm not going anywhere tonight.
So the plan now is a bit of lunch for you, is it? And
yeah, I'm just about to have
maybe?
some pasta. It's ready now, and then literally I'm going to try and get my head down just for sort of an hour's rest and just rest the body.
Well, we wish you all the best.
All right, and we'll obviously be speaking later, and we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. All right.
Merchandising sells like hotcakes. Everyone wants a memento of what's sure to be a great day out. There are shirts, shoes, you name it, they've got it. The crowd is kept entertained by a full supporting programme of events. There's never a dull moment. Despite a bad start, Nigel takes a masterful grip on the race. eventually winning from Prix by a mammoth 39 seconds. Nigel has to stop after the finishing line, engulfed by the delirious supporters. He's literally dragged from the car and manhandled in an orgy of victory celebrations. He's now the most successful British driver in history. The 6th 1-2 this season for Williams-Renault. Nigel's lead over his teammate is 36 points, with Schumacher on 29, Berger 20, Senna 18, and Martin Brundle making an impressive appearance on 13. A country mile separates Williams from the others in the constructors' title. There's a hero's welcome home to the compound, a hug for Roseanne, and yet another trophy to add to the collection.
Well, hello again. I mean, here we are after the race, and what can you say except it's been a most fantastic day. Bit of history making as well, and two of my best friends around the world, Mark McNulty, who you met in South Africa at the beginning of the year, and I think you might have caught a glimpse of Tony Johnson as well, who's sitting there. I think they enjoyed themselves today as well, and I wish I could still play golf as good as them there. You know, they get paid more money than us. They really
He's just a bandit.
They don't never give me enough shots, so they always beat me. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
But anyway, it's been marvellous, hasn't it? And hopefully you've got some scenes of the crowd, and now we're just going to have a lovely barbecue this evening with a lot of people, which you can see around here, and just relax for the next number of hours. So I'll catch up with you later and personally talk to you about a few other things.
As the sun sets once more, Nigel, his family and friends settle down to relive the earlier events of the day with the BBC's highlights programme. And they enjoy it this time with Murray Walker's famed faux pas.
Is now in second position. Who is now being attacked by Martin Brundle, and Schumacher is being attacked by one of the McLarens. I didn't see whether it was Senna or it's Senna. They're coming down to Stowe Corner now. Can come in and he can take all the time in the world. About 8 seconds for a good stop. He more or less coasts in. Now, I say again, with a lead, they love him and he loves them. And Nigel Mansell comes out of Luffield 1 into Luffield 2, which is the last corner of 1. They're breaking ranks, the Union Jacks are waving, and Nigel Mansell wins the 1992 British Grand Prix in terrific style. Hands off the wheel. As he completes that winning lap and is now on his wind-down lap. Now the tradition, and it's not one.
What can one say is about the scenes after the race, except that obviously a little worrying for a little while, but I mean the crowd, I've never seen the crowd like it anywhere in the world, and although perhaps it was a little dangerous in places, it was absolutely stupendous, fantastic, marvellous, and very, very flattering. With the exception of being pulled out of the car like a rag doll and various hands going places they shouldn't go and being thrown around a little bit, obviously it was fantastic, very enjoyable, and as I said, and I'll say it to you, I dedicate my 28th and most historic victory to date to the fans in England and around the world.
I don't think Ricardo had read the script, had he, going into the first corner today?
Well, no, Ricardo hadn't read the script very well, had he? And I think it just goes to prove that there isn't any team orders, and we've been saying that. And so I had to just remind him coming out of the first corner that, you know, I was shall we just say, in charge of this weekend.
And then you made the jump to light speed. You're 8 seconds clear after just 3 laps.
Well, I decided I wanted about 11 to 15 seconds after 5 laps, and that way you can crush the opposition, and I didn't want to fight with Ricciardo today, and I wanted to drive my own race, and the only way I could do that was to demoralise him a little bit, and sort of pulling out 2.5 seconds a lap for the first sort of 5 laps was exactly correct.
And then with just 2 laps to go, you came out with the fastest lap of the day.
The team wasn't exactly real happy about that, but I must be honest and tell you to camera now that I did that especially for the fans. I wanted to, with the new regulations that are coming in next year, I wanted to put a fastest lap in and break the track record, whereby that would stand at least for a few years, and so that's exactly what I did. I didn't over-rev the engine or even increase the engine revs through the gear changes. I just braked very late and just pushed the car to the limits through the corners. Very pleasing, but then the next 2 laps I went very slow. But I think the most incredible thing was Damon Hill, because the car he's actually particularly driving and trying to qualify is not, well, it's actually in fact the slowest car, and he managed to get into the race, and all compliments to Damon. I think in years to come you'll see a great star there in Damon Hill, and I really believe and hope that he gets the support that he justly deserves. I'd just like to close in saying that I think you've all witnessed a very historical day today. Well, I know for a fact that you actually have. I hope you've enjoyed this programme, and perhaps this programme has been the most special one of the year so far. Join us and let's get straight into Germany, because we've got to remember, unfortunately, as I speak to you now, this race just gone is history, and we've now got to work so much harder for the new races to come. Come and join us in Germany, in Hockenheim, in 1 week's time. We'll speak to you then.
Mannheim, Germany, a port and industrial city at the junction of the Rhine and Neckar rivers, 40 miles south of Frankfurt. Full of splendour and statues, the city also boasts an engineer who, as far back as 1885, made a petrol-driven 3-wheel motor car. He was, of course, Carl Benz. His corporate badge now dominates the landscape over the university, where students prefer the 2-wheeled bicycle and treat Benz's invention rather contemptuously as pure art. Benz's legacy is left in the German marques of Audi, BMW, Porsche, VW and Renault. The Renault, of course, belongs to Nigel Mansell, and he's the reason we're visiting Germany. His home this weekend is the Waldorf Astoria for round 10 of the Formula One World Championship.
Well, good morning everybody. Here we are, Friday morning. It's the 10th round of the Formula One Grand Prix circuit. We're currently at the Waldorf Holiday Inn Hotel, which is approximately about 15-20 minutes away from the circuit. A bit later than usual this morning. Forecast 32 degrees, going to be very hot, possibly thunderstorms a bit later. Same sort of forecast for tomorrow, so as per usual, try and get the job done today, get on provisional pole, and then whatever the weather has in store for us tomorrow, we can basically rest easy. So if it's dry, we can try and go quicker, but obviously if it's wet, we can sort of smile a bit, because then we've obviously done the job today. This time of the season gets more difficult to, I wouldn't say motivate yourself, but you know, it's in the meat of the season, we call it. It gets tougher and the races come very frequently. I'm very pleased to say that after this weekend we will actually have a week or so's break before the Hungarian Grand Prix. Special things for this circuit, aerodynamic package. We are currently going down 3 straights down here at about 340 kilometers an hour, which is obviously very, very fast indeed. In miles per hour, that's 215 miles per hour, very quick. Slipstreaming up to 220. Very, very important here to have the package of the car correct for the straights. Plenty of places to overtake. Very, very quick. Not exactly one of my favourite circuits because of the chicanes, no real demanding corners. Perhaps a couple coming into the infield, but that's about it. Prediction for this weekend? I hope we'll be somewhere on the front row of the grid. I'd just like to pause for a few seconds and say, well, we've just gone over half distance now. We are on the 10th round. Hasn't been too bad, has it? I mean, I hope you're enjoying it as much as I'm enjoying making it. A lot of trials and tribulations here, a little bit of pit talk. I mean, Ayrton Senna's threatened to resign and perhaps have a year off, unless he can get my drive next year. Alan Prost is desperate for the Williams drive next year. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to be doing next year yet. A lot of intrigue. Ayrton Senna and Michael Schumacher having a little bit of excitement in the test here, depending and deciding on who was correct and who wasn't on the circuit. And it was quite lively in the Benetton pit for a few seconds. I'm half smiling, mainly because I'm staying quiet. Get on with the job, concentrate, work as hard as we possibly can, and know. And see if we can't have a great weekend this weekend. I invite you with us later on to catch up on the story of today. And also, for tomorrow, we have a function here which we're going to do some special racing, which only you'll be able to see. I'll see you then. All right. Suzanne?
Yeah.
Come and have a look at this one. Okay.
Just then, with him so on?
This with me?
Yes, okay, good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good. Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
The talking point between Nigel and Sheridan will almost certainly be the team's plans for next year. Although he's had an offer for another drive, Nigel's not committing himself before knowing who his partner will be. Hockenheim is a small village, famous only for its motor racing circuit. At 6.797 kilometres, one of the longest in use. The long straights make it probably the quickest circuit of all, and Nigel is first out of the starting blocks to set provisional pole position at 1:38.340, which would be 2 seconds quicker than anyone else. The Brazilian, Ayrton Senna, separates Nigel from Riccardo Patrese, who in turn keeps Gerhard Berger at bay.
Very, very pleased today, mainly because in qualifying especially we chose to go right at the start of the session, which was a little bit of a guesswork, but we played absolutely perfect because we're rolling out the pits with 30 seconds to go for the pit lane to open for qualifying, and I had 2 or 3 perfectly clear laps, no problems, no traffic, no flags, and we did warm-up lap, then I did 1:39.0 and then 1:38.3. And that was the pole time, which I set within basically the first 6-7 minutes. And then after that, the incredible thing was I came in and we were going to do some work on the race car with the less powerful engine and set it up. But then there was accident after accident and people going off and bringing debris and stones, and at one time it was that bad that they red flagged the qualifying session. So, you know, as it all turned out, we actually, our planner campaign today worked very, very well indeed, and the morning's warm-up was probably equally as good too.
Were you racing the RS4 engine to start with?
We were qualifying. We qualified the RS4, but we have 2 cars here. My race car set up with the RS3 engine, which is the one that we're doing the race with, and we've got to do our homework with, and qualifying the RS4, which is a more powerful engine. And we're greatly encouraged because they have made good progress with the RS4, and you know, touch wood at the moment, touching the table. It's very, very encouraging.
And you were here, of course, a week earlier, testing the RS4.
Yeah, I mean, it's a circuit where we have a FOCA test a week before the race, and we did our homework very well last week, and the car is set up, I'd say, extremely competently, and I'm very, very satisfied the way things have gone today, and I'm greatly encouraged, and I just hope that we have the reliability and we don't have any other problems.
And is there more horsepower from the new engine?
Yeah, there is, and you know, it's an ongoing development all the time. I mean, the RS3 is basically topped out, but the RS4 now is finding new ground all the time.
Renault's performance is no doubt a significant player in the who drives for whom drama still to be resolved. As a French company, not forgetting Elf Fuel either, they perhaps understandably would like a Frenchman driving the car, and Alain Prost is the obvious available choice. He'd not be Nigel's choice, wherein lies the heart of the dilemma facing Frank Williams, Renault and Nigel.
All I'm going to say is that it's not going to surprise me when I find out next week that there's going to be changes, and what those changes will be, I'm not quite sure. I think maybe Prost might be in the equation. There might be a couple of other things in the equation too, but I've been in the game long enough not to predict those kind of things. Okay, here we go on a qualifying lap of the Hockenheim Grand Prix circuit. I think it's actually the fastest circuit in the world. If it isn't, then Monza is, but I mean, we actually qualified at 1:38.3 this afternoon, which is an average speed of 155 miles an hour. That's pretty quick. We'll start at the start and finish line, which is just here. We come past there in 4th gear, changing up into 5th gear, braking just a little bit around the first corner, and then accelerating up then into 5th and to 6th. Now at this point here, we are doing about 240 kilometers an hour. At about this point here, we are doing 300 kilometers an hour. And at this point, we are doing 338 kilometers an hour. And before the braking, we're probably doing about 342 kilometers an hour. Accelerating through here, now you'll see on the television here and here where I'm putting the black dots, there are many, many bumps through this curb, and the car is jumping all over the place, and there's been an awful lot of complaints today and even in the testing last week, and there's actually been a few accidents here today, one of which actually stopped official qualifying because the car went straight on across here and brought all the stones and sand across the track, and it was so bad they had to stop it. And then through this chicane, very fast chicane, and again a chicane which is very, very important because your exit speed here is a very good spot along here to overtake a slower car. And if you can come out of this chicane quick, because you're actually doing about 240 to 260 kilometers an hour through here on the exit, you get a slingshot down here then, changing up to 5th to 6th, and again up to about 340 kilometers an hour by this point here. Braking quite hard from 6th to 5th to 4th, through here going into the stadium in 4th gear, keeping it in 4th gear, and then braking very hard to 3rd to 2nd, round the hairpin in 2nd gear, accelerating to 3rd, and into 4th momentarily, and back to 3rd for the double right-hander. Now it shows a little bit of a straight here, but the car actually, if I draw this corner for you, on here, and I draw it a little bit bigger, it's actually like that. And it's, to drive around here, you drive it as one corner. You can see, you just drive it as one corner, sliding, and it's at this point here, the whole car is in a four-wheel drift at about that angle, sliding all the way along. So if you see this, just imagine that this is the car. So by the time you're sliding around there and you get to here, then you play with the power on the throttle, and then you actually set the car up ready for this next corner, which is very important again because this actually sees what speed you're doing on the start and finish line in 3rd to 4th, and here, even on this short straight from there to there, you are already at this point at 280 kilometers an hour. So it just goes to show how quick a Formula One car accelerates. There you have it, a complete lap, and if you do that with very few mistakes, you can actually do a lap time of 1:38.3.
Saturday, and no matter how early it is in the morning, Nigel always obliges those waiting for his signature. Even a 10 Deutschmark note will suffice.
on the other side with your partner.
There you go.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
It's a big weekend for Michael Schumacher, driving his first Grand Prix in his home country.
A little late this morning, 8 o'clock, just about to depart to the circuit. There'll be a lot of traffic this morning. Really, a little bit of patience, see if the track's a little bit quicker. Got to do our homework today on full tanks. Very, very long lap here. As you know, it's over 7 kilometres long, and very, very important to make sure that the car's handling it correct on full tanks. Once we get that done, might even sit out this afternoon. If the track isn't any quicker, then I'll stop myself going out just to try and beat my own time, and hopefully the time I set yesterday will be quick enough for pole. If it isn't, then you'll see a good fight on our hands. Other than that, I'll see you this afternoon. See you later.
Close to the circuit, the town of Heidelberg's combination of castle, river and old town makes it one of the most romantic in Germany. Situated on the river Neckar, 11 miles southeast of Mannheim, the ruins of its 13th century castle dominate the town. Ricciardo borrowed Nigel's car to set an impressive time in qualifying. Schumacher spun in his bid to impress, and then in the last minutes of the session, Nigel came out and claimed his 9th pole position of the season in 1 minute 37.960. The McLarens of Senna and Berger came next, followed by Alesi and Schumacher. Saturday night's entertainment was provided by Canon. The champagne flowed freely, and there was ample good food for the invited guests and the world's media.
Right, you can have another 30 seconds to practice.
The BBC's Murray Walker was rehearsing for tomorrow's race, overseeing fair play in a remote-control model race for anyone who fancied their chances. Canon also supplied £20,000 worth of goodies for prizes in an organised draw. The Williams drivers, however, were to be the star attraction.
Good evening, Sheridan. Good evening, Ricardo, and thank you very much for coming. If you'd like to take one of these units, and Colin Spinner, can you fix Ricardo up with a car? So Colin Spinner here has actually got 2 of these superb Tamiya models. Hold it up, Colin. Let's have a look. This is, there we are, there is Grade 5 itself, the Canon Williams Renault of 1992, which Nigel has been driving, and I have no doubt that we have a white 6 somewhere or other. Right, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? Yes? Yes, right. Now, 1, 2, 3, go! Perfect start by Prix, straight into the first corner, round the hairpin. Now Prix got to keep it running smoothly, and it's a 5-lap race, and Prix coming through to complete the first lap. He's already half a lap ahead of Nigel Mansell, who is putting up a terrific spurt to try and catch the white 6 car, and it's hell up here, I'll tell you. Now where is Mansell? Where Patrizi's gone through and completed 2 laps. 2 laps for Patrizi. Mansell is backing out of trouble, and he's beached it. He's somehow got it over the Armco. Patrizi's coming out of the hairpin, round the right-hander, completing 3 laps. Mansell is on lap 2.5, I think, and Patrizi so is on lap 4. There's only 1 lap to go after this for white 6, and Mansell is going berserk. He's hit the Armco left, he's hit the Armco right. Meantime, Riccardo Patrese is leading. No, he's not. He's gone off. They've both gone off. And this is the last lap of the Canon German Grand Prix here at the Holiday Inn at Hockenheim. Riccardo Patrese crosses the line. 5 laps completed. And is the
I'd just like to point out that this was a very fair race. It's the first time that Riccardo's going to get penalised for jumping the start this year.
Nigel, that was quite a bit of fun in there with the Canon racing.
Yeah, it was good fun, and I know what Riccardo does in his spare time. I think his children are a little bit older than mine, so they don't crash the cars too often, so you have to sort of put them back together. But it was a lot of fun.
And at the circuit this afternoon, I gather you had to lend, well, you didn't have to, but you did lend Riccardo your car.
Yeah, I thought it was only right in case they had problems getting his car together that he had the opportunity to qualify in my car and get on the front row of the grid, which he did. And I'm pleased he didn't go quicker than me. That's all.
You only had a short time at the end left, though, to make your time.
Yeah, my first flying lap was the quickest lap, 37.9, and it was good enough for pole position. But then we had a slight problem with the car. One of the bolts underneath the floor sort of got damaged, and the floor dropped a little bit, and the car wasn't handling as good as it should have been then, so I aborted the second run.
But that surely was a good example of how team members should behave.
Well, yes, I think so, but I mean, in different circumstances, you shouldn't have to do that. It was a big risk from my point of view today, because I actually jeopardised pole position, because the McLarens were coming closer. They got within a second, and I felt that if they got a perfect lap together, they could have beaten my time. And needless to say, Riccardo got very, very close. And in fact, if he hadn't had his accident on the last run in his own car, because he had a fresh engine, he might have even beaten it. And if I'd have gone out in my car at the start of the session, with it sort of working real well, I could have probably gone a bit quicker than that, you say.
Now, you won here at Hockenheim last year to complete your first career hat-trick. Are you going to tomorrow's race with extra confidence?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I obviously go into tomorrow with a lot of, with a big positive attitude, I should say. But we've just got to get the job done tomorrow. It's not going to be that easy. I think McLaren on full tanks are a lot closer than us. I think we might be about half a second a lap quicker. But where we're quicker is around some of the corners. Down the straights, there's nothing in it at all. I think there's less than 1 kilometre an hour. So, I mean, on the start, it's it's probably more important tomorrow to get the best start of this year tomorrow.
Nigel remained in party mood, donning our equipment and playing at being a sound recordist,
No thanks.
to the complete astonishment of Sheridan. And what will tomorrow hold in store for Nigel? An early start on race day through the misty fields and rivers to the Waldorf, where a different mode of transport awaits Nigel and Roseanne.
Morning, everyone.
To help beat race day traffic chaos, Sheridan arranged for this superbike through Renault France and Germany. And the price of this loan? Just autograph the tank, please. Oh, and the helmets. And of course, the Porsche.
Morning.
See you later. You got the keys over there.
Even Nigel wouldn't get into the circuit without his FOCA accreditation.
It's the kind of message I remember.
What's that?
Tom Walkinshaw, team principal of Benetton, prefers a more conventional mode of transport.
Mit Seil und Haken, alles zu wagen, hängen wir in der Wand. Herzen erglühen, edelweiß blühen, wir klettern mit sicherer Hand. Herrliche Berge, sonnige Höhen, Bergvagabunden sind wir, ja wir. Herrliche Berge, sonnige Höhen, Bergvagabunden sind wir. Handschlag, ein Lächeln, Mühen vergessen, alles wie beim Herrgott bestellt. Fels ist bezwungen, Freiherz und Lungen, ach wie so schön ist die Welt. Herrliche Berge, sonnige Höhen, Bergvagabunden sind wir, ja wir. Herrliche Berge, sonnige Höhen, Bergvagabunden sind wir.
In the heat of battle, Nigel is late braked by Senna and cuts straight across the second chicane, emerging in a cloud of dust onto the straight. But he soon overtakes Senna. Ricciardo overdoes it, agonisingly just 500 yards from the finish line, and Nigel sails to his 8th win out of 10 starts in a remarkable season. A proud moment on the podium too for Schumacher, who was gifted 3rd place by Ricciardo. Nigel's lead now in the Drivers' Championship is 46 points over the luckless Ricciardo, almost beyond reach now in his life's quest for the title. And Team Williams march gloriously on in the Constructors' Championship. Under the watchful gaze of the cathedral, Speye's small airport awaits its busiest day of the year, and the crowd awaits a triumphant Nigel.
Are you stressed?
A little bit tired.
They greet him enthusiastically, and he obliges with some autographs and some very special gifts.
Well, Nigel, very many congratulations. That's 8 wins in one season so far, which equals Ayrton Senna's previous record.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit stunned sitting here because we had quite a few problems today in the race, and I pitted for tyres real early because I thought I had a puncture, and then I stayed on the second set of tyres for the remaining laps, and at the end the tyres were, well, they were completely shot. But I mean, we finished, we won, so I've got to be happy, but boy am I tired now.
And now the Constructors' title, I would think, seems fairly inevitable for Williams.
Well, it's very silly, but you know, I'm the last one to look at the points. I don't know what the point situation is in the constructors or the drivers, so but I would think that with only 6 races left, the constructors' title should be Williams and Renault's. As for the drivers' title, you know, there's still a mathematical chance of 2 other drivers that can possibly win, so I'm not going to tempt Providence in any way or form. I've been the bridesmaid 3 times before, and you know, this time I want to try and make it, and I've just got to go to Hungary with a very positive attitude and just feel that you know, it's another race, and if we can obviously get first or second place there, I believe then mathematically the championship's mine. But you know, that's only because someone's told me. I've just got to wait and see. It's still a long way to go.
And I gather that the journey here to the airport on the motorcycle was almost as hair-raising as the race itself.
Yeah, the police here gave us an escort on the motorbike, and we were going quite quick, and it was very interesting. Having driven the race and then driven here on a quite a large motorcycle, you know, needless to say, I admit to being very tired now.
We expected to see Roseanne struggling with the trophy on the back there.
Yeah, unfortunately the trophies were sort of too big to get on the motorbike, so they're going to come to my home next Friday. So, you know, we'll get them there, but it won't be till the end of the week.
So that's 29 career wins for you. I mean, Senna with 34, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that you'll overtake him this season and be second best driver of all time behind Prix.
No, I don't think so. I'll just be happy with a couple of more wins if I can. One more win will do me this year, and then we'll just see what happens.
Magnificent. Congratulations again, and we look forward to catching up with you in Hungary next time.
Thank you very much. See you then.
Nigel jets home to the Isle of Man, close to realising his dream, but no doubt pondering his future. If Nigel Mansell wasn't a racing driver, he'd have chosen to be either a golfer or a footballer. That's why he jumped at the chance to meet one of England's most successful managers, Brian Clough. His team will now share a common sponsor with Nigel's Williams team, Labatt's Canadian Lager.
That's the first bloody foul, I'm killing.
Both men have an inborn desire to succeed, tempered with a mischievous sense of humour.
This way, please.
It was an absolutely fantastic day at Nottingham Forest, and to be with Brian Clough and Stuart Pearson, the captain, and obviously Nigel Clough, Brian's son, and all the other rest of the boys. They were super, thorough professionals, and I mean, to be there in the middle of the park, with the new grandstands being erected to the right, and obviously hearing about the new ones going to be there behind us as well to the north. Sensational, and it will be a day that I'll certainly remember for the rest of my life, and I know my two children will, because I mean you'll have footage of them kicking the ball and playing, and it was one of the better sporting moments that you can remember nicely.
You can't fail to enjoy it, and he's not 5'11" either, standing on his tiptoes. But he comes across as such a nice person, and when I was even doing some shopping yesterday and I was bragging the fact that I might possibly get the chance to meet him, people in shops, ladies, say he comes across as a nice person, and he is what he is, and that makes a good champion as well as talent.
I was going to say he is a winner, which is nice as well.
Sure is. You've got to be a winner, and then you come across as well as a nice person. He's got everything going for him at the moment, and I hope it continues until he retires for 20 years when he's won this championship.
Both men are used to tackling the opposition, but it's Brian here who gets the last laugh. Ronaldsway Airport on the Isle of Man. And today, Nigel begins a journey which could ultimately fulfil his lifetime's burning ambition. The private jet is bound for Budapest in Hungary for round 11 of the Formula One World Drivers' Championship, where Nigel can possibly clinch his first World Championship title. We join Roseanne Mansell and Sheridan Thin on this momentous journey. Despite the pressures of the current situation, the atmosphere is surprisingly casual and relaxed.
Well, good morning to you, everybody. Welcome, and I'm glad you could join us here on this British Aerospace 1000 aircraft. It's a corporate jet, one of the latest ones of its kind. And we're presently an hour and a half into our journey to Budapest. Budapest, as you will see, is a very interesting city. And obviously the venue for the 11th round of the Formula One Grand Prix Championship. What can I say about the championship at this time? It's been marvellous, hasn't it? 8 wins out of 10 races. A second at Monte Carlo, which we perhaps could have won. And now going to Budapest with bated breath because, yes, you're right. If we win here in Budapest this weekend, that elusive World Championship could be ours, or will be ours, I should say. A lot of controversy has been happening this last couple of weeks on where drivers might be going. Will Nigel Mansell stay with Williams? Will Prix join Williams? Will Senna go to Ferrari? And of course, the biggest controversy of it all this last week has been the fuel. All fuel from all present and races we've had this year have been totally banned. It's been interpreted by FISA now that power boosting additives are not permitted in Formula One. Therefore, now the only fuel you can use at a race is what is known as pump fuel, or fuel available to the public. Now this is very ambiguous because who defines pump fuel from one country to another? How do you police it? And we're talking a 50 to 60 horsepower difference with the fuels we've been using, so the fuels we'll have to use now in Hungary. I think there'll be a lot of trouble. I think there'll actually be a lot of court cases about this. But it goes without saying that we are playing as fair as we can. We're going to pump fuel now, which normal cars use on the street. Because if you don't, FISA have the powers to disqualify you from the championship. And in doing that, I mean, it goes without saying, that would be totally undesirable. But to change the regulations halfway through the season is almost unheard of. And therefore, I'd say this to you, that I'm keeping well out of it. I'm keeping my head down. I'm going to try and have a quiet weekend. And the most important thing to do this weekend is qualify at the front of the grid. Why? The circuit here is just as bad as Monte Carlo for overtaking, almost impossible. And therefore, a premium is on qualifying. We'll have to be patient. I will ask you to join us. And next time I'll be speaking to you is probably at the hotel by the side of the Danube. You catch up with us then. We're going to have a fantastic weekend, I hope, and you'll be there to watch it.
We touched down safely at Budapest. Just 2.5 hours flying time in this luxury jet from Nigel's Isle of Man home. So Nigel disembarks in Hungary on the threshold of a title success already denied to him on 3 occasions. Budapest is the country's capital and lies on both sides of the River Danube. Buda and its hills to the west of the river, and the plains of Pest to the east. They became one city in 1872, being joined by this, the Chain Bridge, designed and built by British engineers William and Adam Clark. At the Forum Hotel in Pest, Nigel takes time out for a special occasion. On his birthday here last year, he was presented with an unusual gift. Not one to look a gift horse in the mouth, Nigel offered it for auction, the proceeds going to help the famous Peto Institute for Sick Children. It raised 500,000 Hungarian forints. Friday, and today's first qualifying session is vitally important, so it's off to the circuit very early.
Oh, yeah. No, not really.
No.
Well, I don't know how things are going to turn out today. I mean, awful lot of things happening at the circuit. There's a few ultimatums flying around as well as to when perhaps one should make one's decision, like yesterday. But the fuel situation is the biggest thing on my mind today, and the performance of the car. I've learnt that a lot of teams have learned through testing that they've learnt that they've lost no performance at all, whereas we've definitely lost a lot of performance on our fuel. So it's going to be a very interesting day, but I think a very trying one for a number of reasons, one probably of which I'll tell you tonight. But there's a lot of things afoot, and it's probably going to be one of the most critical 3 days in my life in motor racing. I'll catch up with you later. And as normal, the first day I'm late. Didn't have a very good night, but can't really blame it on anything other than the mind working overtime.
Nigel's relaxed disposition of yesterday is replaced by tension today. There isn't much conversation on the 20-minute journey to the circuit, as Nigel is deep in thought. It's ironic that the Hungaroring, a circuit Nigel's not fond of, could hold the key to all his aspirations.
Here we are at the circuit. You're on the main gate now, and no doubt you'll be filming some of the circuit and get a couple of the corners where we'll be going round. As I said, probably going to be one of the toughest days in my life because of the concentration, the fact of the championship, and a lot of things going on I can't talk to you about at this moment, but we'll certainly enlighten you as the weekend goes on. Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Qualifying at the 3.968 kilometre Hungaroring circuit didn't exactly go Nigel's way. He had to be content with second place behind his teammate Riccardo Patrese after a frustrating
We've only got second place today. My teammate's on pole. He beat me by 0.2 of a second, but we've had a lot of problems. I went out in my T-car first of all this morning and lost it because it basically stopped out on the circuit. That created quite a lot of interest. I just had to wait for a long time for the marshals to push me in a safe position at the end of the pit lane. Then my race car was going reasonably well until then I came into the pits and part of the asbestos sheeting caught fire by the engine, and so we had a fire in the pits then, which we had to put out with extinguishers. That delayed us for another 20 minutes, and then I had quite a lot of problems trying to fix the car and get it to go quickly, and then of course, just like the big bang of thunder, then we had a lot of hiccups on the circuit trying to get a free lap, and unfortunately we didn't quite do it. It's been one of the hardest days so far this season, and we've basically got to be patient and just hope that that we can have a much better day tomorrow. Good night. Friday evening. See you Saturday.
Saturday now, and one more chance to gain the coveted pole position that could be so crucial this weekend.
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, the weather's flipping indifferent, a bit windy, but we need to try and get on pole position today. I had a better night's sleep, so I'm hopefully fired up a little bit better today. The cars will operate, I think, a little bit fairer, so we might be able to get the job done today. We'll see. You'll be speaking to us later, and I have some good news for you.
As Nigel speeds off to the circuit, we take a more leisurely look at Budapest's bounty. back in the forum after the second qualifying session, but it's not good news. No improvement on yesterday's times for the Williams pair, and a dramatic 11th hour spin into the bargain.
Yeah, it was one of those situations, and the track's, I'm afraid, one of those circuits that a lot of the corners are blind, and I was on a really hot lap. In fact, my split time on that lap when I had the accident was a 15.3, which would have put me on pole position, but it's you know, one of those things that you come up on a 3-car or 4-car accident, and there's debris on the circuit and dust, and I came around this one corner, just the corner in front of the accident, no flags, nothing, and it's just like driving on oil. The car just went into a big spin, a very big slide, and then straight into the barrier. So, you know, we're lucky it wasn't a bigger accident. But
and you're okay yourself?
Yeah, I mean, my shoulder's hurting and my neck's aching, but that's normal after you've had a 160-mile-an-hour accident. So, you know, but it's quite strange. In 150 yards, there was 4 or 5 accidents, all on the same lap. It's not going to be any Sunday afternoon drive tomorrow, that's for certain. It's going to be very, very hot, very tiring. One of the longest races in the Grand Prix calendar. I mean, it'd be 1 hour 50, 55 minutes tomorrow, so it's going to be a tough old race, 77 laps.
Well, here we are on the eve of what could be your crowning glory. Any last minute advice or such from Franco or the rest of the team?
No, other than the fact that I'm probably disappointed because you'd think that there'd be some kind of team orders, but there isn't. It's a free-for-all. And, you know, that's, I think, a little bit silly, because if we could get a little bit of assistance tomorrow, then it could be all out the way and done and dusted, although anything can happen, as we know. And then we can have a free-for-all for the next 5 races, but they want a free-for-all all the time. That's fine, but it just makes it a bit more difficult.
Sure. But I think Ricciardo knows the score regarding the championship. Do you think he's not give any ground, perhaps? Or he can't win, can he? He knows that, but he knows that you can.
Well, he can mathematically. I mean, if he was to win the next 6 races and I don't finish, we will be driving with as much calm and composure and as fighting spirit as the circuit will allow us, because the circuit is not what I call a proper racing circuit. We will all have to be patient and see what happens. I'm really looking forward and hope dearly that I can get a good night's sleep tonight. Although there's lots of other pressures with contracts and people pushing and pressurising you and pulling you in different directions. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it, but I think at this moment in time, I want to try and be very quiet and go and soak my weary body in a nice hot bath tonight.
Perhaps you just talk us around a quick lap of the circuit before we let you go to the bar.
Okay, coming around on the qualifying lap or racing lap, you come out of this turn 13 very quickly in 3rd gear, changing up to 4th to 5th, and at this point doing 250 kilometres an hour. At 6th, and here you are doing something like 270 to 280 kilometres an hour. And this is where all the accidents were, right here, and this is where my accident was here. And that's because a lot of dust was coming up on the circuit, and the dust basically was turning the circuit into basically an ice ring. Braking very hard now, down to 2nd, then up to 3rd, staying in 3rd, and then coming round back onto the main straight in 3rd. The most crucial corners for a very, very quick lap, and also to position yourself to the point of view of possibly overtaking cars tomorrow, is turn 13, which one has to say is lucky for some, and turn 3. The reason for this, you can see how short a straight this is. It's nothing. And therefore your exit speed here, your car must be very quick at this point to then slipstream another car down the straight to try and overtake on the inside, or even maybe on the outside going into turn 1. Equally, when you go down the hill in turn 2, exiting turn 3, you have a small straight, which is very small. I mean, that's only probably about 600 yards long. And if you can get a very good exit speed out of turn 3, it may be possible to squeeze in before the next corner. but those are the only two possible overtaking positions. This one is far less than obviously the pit straight. So as you can see, if you can make the first corner first into the lead, the chances are you can win the race. Otherwise, you've got a very, very tough race on your hands tomorrow, which actually takes 77 laps, which is better part of 2 hours. One of the hardest races in the calendar, and if it's hot tomorrow, certainly one of the most sapping. There you have it. I'll invite you to the race tomorrow. I'm now going to leave you. It's coming up 7:30 in the evening here, and I should be in bed within the next hour.
Race day, and the Ferrari team leave the hotel for their 500th Grand Prix. A lot's expected of their young French driver Jean Alesi. Benetton prepare to leave for the circuit too, along with the English driver Martin Brundle and the German Michael Schumacher. Nigel, as ever, obliges an early autograph hunter.
Here we are anyway, we've arrived at the most important day, probably in my Grand Prix career. Police have just come for me. What can I say, except it's going to be very, very hot. It's a lovely morning at the moment. Warm-up this morning is going to be very important to try and set the car up and make sure the engine's working well. We have a fuel consumption problem here. It's one of the longest races in the calendar. Some of the things I'm repeating, but I'm just refreshing your memory that all the things I have to go through this morning. Fuel consumption, the tyre pressures are very important here because they can get away from you as well. Tyre wear. You don't really want to make a pit stop here unless you have to, because it's like Monte Carlo for overtaking. Besides all that, it's a very easy day. I wish it was. Anyway, we're just about to go, and you'll see how it goes, and you'll catch up with me later today, where hopefully we'll celebrate or commiserate together.
The sponsors, as usual, have thought up every conceivable way to advertise their product. Will they have a winner on their hands today? At the Hungaro Ring, the spectators travel in by car, bicycle, or on foot. And Hungarian handicrafts mingle with the usual Grand Prix side stalls of drinks and mementos. There are some strange spectators too. Prix makes another superb start, but he chops Nigel into the first corner, allowing Senna and Berger to get past, leaving Nigel in fourth place. Recovering composure, Nigel fights his way past Berger's McLaren into third. A mistake by Prix finishes his dreams as he spins off. All Nigel has to do now is finish in the top three to grasp the title. But there's a puncture warning, tyres a change, and Nigel rejoins down in sixth place. He goes flat out. He passes Häkkinen, and then Brundle, and Berger for the third time in the race. Nigel crosses the line in second, and his dream has come true. He's the world champion. For the record, Berger finished third, Häkkinen fourth, Brundle fifth, and Capelli got 1 point for Ferrari in their 500th race. And there's the confirmation. Nigel 52 points ahead of Prix now, with only 50 points left to score this year. Nobody else can do it. Williams walk away with the constructors' race, a truly magnificent team effort. The jet that began this historic journey waits to speed the new champion home. Dehydrated, he toasts success with 2 soft drinks.
It's fantastic. We're on the way back home to the Isle of Man. I don't know whether it has sunk in yet. I mean, I've got this silly smile on my face and I've just about gathered my breath, and you know what I mean? Oh, it's just the most fantastic feeling and the best day in my life.
You've steadfastly refused to talk about the championship all the year. You can't avoid it now.
No, I suppose I can't, can I? I mean, I've got to talk about it now. I mean, I keep looking at the points and seeing that I'm 52 points ahead with only 5 races to go, so I'm slowly thinking and working out that no one can catch me, so... But it is unbelievable to be the 1992 world champion of Formula One, and absolutely marvellous.
I would imagine that deep down you're really pleased as much for yourself for Roseanne.
Roseanne's been the trump card in my whole life. If I'd not met Roseanne and I'd not married Roseanne, I wouldn't be sitting here now. She's the most marvellous woman that any man could wish to have as a wife, and I'm pleased there's only one of her.
You cast your mind back sort of 12 years when you really were struggling to get in and on the bottom rung of the ladder towards your ambition, and you think about all the hardship and frustrations you went through then. Has it all been worthwhile now?
Yeah, one could say today's made it all worthwhile.
At home, a very special welcome awaits Nigel at the tiny airport.
I wouldn't count anything until the checkered flag was out and I knew what the point situation was. And it was just lovely, especially as I was there as well.
Overcome with emotion from the islanders' greetings, Nigel's escorted to his car. Above the bay of Port Erin, a new day dawns, the first one in the reign of Nigel Mansell as the new king of Formula One. A top-of-the-range Renault GTA sports car bears testimony to the harmony of man and machine. A champagne cork says it all. Complete joy for a family finally fulfilled after all the heartaches.
Yes, I've been privileged and proud to know and follow the career of Nigel since his very earliest Formula 4 days in single-seaters. I remember in Silverstone once sitting on the front wheel of this Formula Ford car with this young chap called Nigel Mansell sitting inside it, and no one had ever heard of. And I'd been watching him during practice and thought that this was someone I ought to go and talk to. And that was the first time I'd spoken to him, and I've been with him and following his career ever since. He's a very special sort of person when you think about it. I mean, Nigel wasn't exactly brought up in poor circumstances. He had a very good childhood, but he's made the most of his life, and to become world champion after all the problems that he's had to overcome, and to be able to live here in his home in Florida, it makes me feel very proud for him. He's a gifted driver, and he's enormously capable, obviously, but he's made himself what he is by sheer determination and guts and the refusal ever to give up. He keeps on going, and he won't take no for an answer at the wheel or anywhere else for that matter. I quite genuinely had a break in my voice and a problem getting the words out, because as I say, when you followed someone, and he's a personal friend, he's the first world champion in my time, and I have been talking about Grand Prix racing since 1949, that's a long time. He's the first world champion I can say is a personal friend, and yes, there was a break in my voice and a tear in my eye, and I'm glad to admit it.
I'm actually savouring all what we have gone through to get where we've actually find ourselves today, which is truly magnificent.
And of course there's still 5 races left in the calendar this year.
Well, 5 races where the pressure will be off me, so it might even be that I'll go even quicker now. I haven't sort of got to worry about the championship, and I can go out there and just drive and drive with ease.
You've also achieved it as well amidst all the disquiet about who's going to drive for whom next year.
Well, I know. I mean, to keep your mind on the job, especially with doing that and negotiations starting from Mexico this year. But I've always been comfortable, and I've always believed that what goes around comes around. I certainly hope I'm able to defend it next year with the same team, but I'm afraid that's out of my hands. But I'd just like to finish in saying to all of you out there who's watching this, a very, very big thank you, because this World Championship that we've managed to win after 30 years, if you like, because that's the first time I drove a car, when I was 8 or 9, is partly yours. I mean, you gave me the support, you gave me the encouragement, and you all made me unretire 2 years ago. And we did it all for the right reasons. Thank you very much.